Destination Emmerdale after the National News.
From ITN, the ITV Evening News with Trevor MacDonald.
It's 6:30 on Friday evening. The headlines. British soldiers daring escape in Sierra Leone. Susie Lamplugh murder inquiry reopens 14 years on. Dunblane mothers join America's march against guns. And Keegan in a row about penalties. Good evening. The British soldiers who emerged from the jungle of Sierra Leone after 3 days on the run from anti-government rebels spoke today about how their lives had been threatened and how they managed to evade capture. They'd been working as United Nations observers when their outpost was surrounded. The news that they had made the 40-mile trek to safety came not in a call to their headquarters, but to one of the men's wives in England. Our Foreign Affairs editor Robert Moore has been talking to them.
Amid the UN crisis here, the story has emerged of the remarkable escape from behind rebel lines of 4 unarmed UN military observers who were caught up in heavy fighting and then spent 3 days and nights in the bush evading capture. Major Philip Ashby, a Royal Marine Commando, led the escape amid fears the rebels would massacre his men.
It was very intimidating. The RUF are past masters at psychological warfare, which basically means frightening their enemy into giving up. And certainly guys who we knew were in the RUF were coming up to us during the day to the perimeter of the compound. Some of them wearing United Nations uniforms, which they'd captured off other troops, and saying, "I've just killed the guy who was wearing this uniform. In 15 minutes we're coming to do the same to you."
He also paid tribute to the extraordinary bravery of the pockets of isolated UN peacekeepers who are now still surviving behind rebel lines.
Even before we escaped, a number of Kenyans who'd been attacked in a different location had managed to escape and evade back to the compound in which we were, including 2 guys, one of whom had a bullet wound through his upper thigh and large parts of his right arm missing where he'd been hit by a bazooka.
As they struggled through Sierra Leone's dense bush, the batteries on their satellite phone failed, although he'd already told his wife of his planned bid for freedom. They also suffered from severe dehydration and from hallucinations.
The main problem on the hallucinations was lack of sleep. If you've ever gone 6 days without any sleep at all, you start to do some strange things. The problem was that because we had to travel very lightweight in order potentially to be able to outrun anybody who was after us, and the local guys can run pretty fast, we had to go lightweight. So we restricted ourselves to carrying 1 water bottle each.
But that survival story still leaves hundreds of UN personnel missing, and a battlefield picture that remains highly confused. Government forces are now desperately seeking to regain the initiative, pushing back the rebel advance about a mile away from here. The UN are acting in assistance, rapidly deploying a fresh wave of Jordanian reinforcements. With help from the RAF, those Jordanian troops are now on the ground, while the UN are left to hope for the safety of those peacekeepers in rebel hands. Robert Moore, ITN, in Sierra Leone.
The mission of the other British troops in Sierra Leone, the paratroopers, was extended today for another month. They've now been told that they've got to stay until badly needed United Nations reinforcements arrive. It means more uncertainty for families back home. Paul Davis reports.
No one is more concerned at the prospect of British forces becoming embroiled in the fighting in Sierra Leone than the families they've left behind. Wives and children of the British paratroops gathered at Aldershot to be given what little information was available about the operation.
It's a demonstration that you want to know what's going on. I quite fully understand that.
But the military were unable to provide answers to the principal concerns expressed by the families.
It's very difficult indeed. I mean, obviously there's the fear that the husbands might be involved in combat, but more specifically the fact that there's no particular end date. They don't know when they might be coming back, and we can give them no indication at the moment.
The Foreign Secretary has said the British paratroops will continue to hold the airport at Freetown for up to a month to allow UN reinforcements to arrive. The British will not be used as combat forces, but will defend themselves if the rebels attack.
If the rebels are foolish enough to fire on the British troops, they will hit back, and they'll hit back hard. I would advise the rebels not even to think of it.
The fear is the British will inevitably become sucked into Sierra Leone's conflict, where the rebel forces of Foday Sankoh currently have the upper hand. numbering up to 10,000 troops. They have relatively good equipment after recent arms shipments. Opposing them are some 8,500 UN troops from 6 nations, but they've been hamstrung by poor organisation. That's why the British force is so important. As well as the 800 paratroopers on the ground, 600 Royal Marines are now offshore in reserve. The Para's role has already changed considerably from the original mission to oversee the evacuation of British and Commonwealth civilians. The opposition wants assurances they'll not become involved in the fighting.
There is a danger that they will be drawn into many other and many difficult situations. And so we do need to be absolutely clear what the limits of that mission are and what the government are expecting of them.
The Chief of the Defence Staff, Sir Charles Guthrie, will be flying out to Sierra Leone this weekend to see for himself the role of the British forces there and the dangers they face. There is a belief among defence officials that the mere presence of the Paras has brought stability to the areas where they've been posted and reduced the threat of rebel attack. But their success means the beleaguered UN force there will be extremely disappointed when they are eventually pulled out. Paul Davis, ITN, at the Ministry of Defence.
A new police investigation is to begin into the extraordinary case of the London estate agent Susie Lamplugh, who disappeared 14 years ago. The officer in charge said there is now another witness, someone new, who saw Miss Lamplugh on the day she went missing. And new DNA techniques could help track the killer or killers. Julie Ghosh reports.
For 14 years, Paul and Diana Lamplugh have struggled to accept their daughter's disappearance. Now, following a review of the investigation, the case has been relaunched. Police have a new witness who saw Susie alive.
I believe it is most relevant, in fact highly relevant, and I do genuinely believe there are others out there, not just witnesses on the day, but people who know the suspects.
We have the opportunity, we believe, of finding out what happened, who did it, and we are here to give the police the most support we can.
The young estate agent left her office in Fulham on July the 28th, 1986. She was to show a house to a client known as Mr. Kipper. Susie's body was never found, and police believe she's dead. Recently, information from a secret source suggested she was buried here at these former army barracks near Worcester. At the time, forensic evidence including hair and tissue was recovered from Susie's car. Now police are subjecting those samples to new DNA tests in the hope of further clues. Susie's mother bears little hope her daughter's body will be found, but she does want to know what happened.
You wait for Susie because it was only really in a way seen to be disappearance, that she might just come around the corner, and you have to accept the fact now about the abduction and the murder, and really quite awful things.
Detectives have a tight core of suspects, some of whom haven't been considered before, and they're investigating the possibility that more than one person was involved in Miss Lamplugh's abduction. Julie Ghosh, ITN, Scotland Yard.
The Ulster Unionist leader David Trimble announced today that his party's ruling council will meet next weekend to decide whether to go back into a power-sharing government. But Mr. Trimble stressed that it wouldn't make a decision until it received answers to questions raised by the IRA's offer to put its weapons beyond use. Let's go now to John Draper at Westminster. John, what's the significance of that announcement this afternoon?
Well, the significance is that the Northern Ireland peace process nearly hit the buffers yet again today. What it's all about is that we all know about the weekend initiative and the IRA statement on weapons. The unionists have to respond to that, and under their rules they'll have to call their Ulster Unionist Council of about 800 people. Now the rules say that that meeting had to be called today, otherwise it wouldn't have taken place. If it hadn't taken place, then the power-sharing executive would not have been restored on May the 22nd, as Tony Blair wants. And Mr. Trimble says the meeting will happen next weekend, but he's saying don't take for granted that they'll accept the weekend initiative, so there are still things they're very unhappy about.
So will that executive be up and running on Monday week?
Well, it depends on whether the assurances the unionists are seeking are forthcoming, on whether the IRA are serious about peace, on plans to change the name of the Royal Ulster Constabulary, and on the issue of flying flags, the Union flag, on public buildings in Northern Ireland. These issues may not seem important on this side of the Irish Sea, but they're very important to both sides in Northern Ireland, and unless they're resolved, then the power-sharing executive may not be set up on May the 22nd. It's still up in the air.
John Draper, thank you. The worst-kept secret in British industry was confirmed today. The Ford assembly line at Dagenham is to be halted in the year 2002 after 70 years of production. 1,900 jobs will go. However, there'll be 500 new jobs making diesel engines. It's an overall loss of 1,400. Adrian Britton has been hearing reaction at the factory today.
The end of a shift at Dagenham and the end of the speculation and rumours. They had been prepared for this announcement, but when it finally came, frustration and anger spread across the shop floor.
This time last year we were the bee's knees, and now, of course, we're the poor relation. It's an absolute disgrace.
They had a pledge from Ford's chairman 3 years ago. Dagenham would continue making cars.
There's people in that time who are very emotional today, and they feel hurt, let down, and we expect him to adhere to those steps.
1,900 jobs will go when production of the Ford Fiesta stops in the year 2002. Ford blames overcapacity. It's making more cars than it can sell, and that it's more economical to close the assembly line at Dagenham than elsewhere in Europe.
The real reason is that our flexibility in the plant, where in Cologne we have 2 lines, in Dagenham we only have 1, would have required such huge investment to bring Dagenham to the same level as Cologne that frankly it would have been economic suicide.
There is some consolation. The sprawling Dagenham plant will become Ford's base for building diesel engines, creating 500 new jobs. Ford has been making cars here for 69 years. Though its reasons for ending production are not believed by the unions. They say Dagenham has been chosen because it's an easy target.
Labour laws are so slack, so lax. We're quick, cheap and easy to sack.
A sign put up by the workers, a cynical reference to BMW's £10 sale of Rover to Phoenix. But whereas car production was rescued at Longbridge, this plant is witnessing the end of an era. Adrian Britton, ITN, Dagenham.
Job losses at Ford. We have more of today's news and sports still to come, including victims of gun violence, mothers call for tougher laws. Practicing penalties, what exactly did Keegan say? And Cannes fights back at claims that it's losing its sparkle. When we come back.
Vodafone can bring you entertainment, sport and news headlines direct to your phone. Let the world come to you. Vodafone. You are here.
Which is the best bit of tomorrow's Daily Express? Is it the mind-bending puzzle magazine? Is it the colour magazine with Alan Titchmarsh and Jonathan Kaner? Is it the chance to change your life with our biggest ever giveaway offer? Or is it the price? The new look 25p Saturday Daily Express. Get it tomorrow.
It's a rollover. So this Saturday's jackpot is an estimated £12 million. Have you got your dream ticket?
The new bagless Electrolux Cyclone picks up dirt with powerful cyclonic action. It keeps your air virtually allergen-free with true HEPA filtration. It costs less, so you'll pick up quite a lot of savings too. We've put a new spin on cyclonics, affordability. And coming soon, the world's first self-propelled cyclone by Electrolux.
Welcome back to the ITV Evening News. The headlines so far. The British soldiers who evaded capture in the jungle in Sierra Leone have described their 3 days on the run. The investigation into Susie Lamplug's disappearance 14 years ago is being reopened. And Ford has confirmed the end of car assembly at Dagenham. 1,900 production line workers would lose their jobs. A protest march in the United States on Sunday is expected to bring 1 million people onto the streets of Washington. They'll have 2 things in common. They're all mothers, and they all want tougher gun laws. Some mothers from Dunblane will be there. The march will underline the fact that every day, 12 children are shot dead in America. Here's ITN's Terry Lloyd.
the 3 Dunblane mothers volunteered to travel to America, where 12 children die each day from gunshot wounds, some accidental, many deliberate acts of murder.
I have heard shots.
America, like Dunblane, has suffered at the hands of crazed killers. This was the scene at Columbine High School in Colorado. 15 died.
Good morning, Million Mile March. Thank you for calling.
These mothers all lost daughters aged 5 in the Dunblane massacre. They helped to change gun laws in Britain. Now they hope it'll work in America.
You can say, well, why? Why am I my child? Why? And when we started campaigning, it was because we didn't want our children's deaths to be in vain. We wanted something positive, something good to have come out of that.
Put politics aside and put kids first.
But in America, the entire gun issue is being used as political ammunition. The influential National Rifle Association versus the gun control lobby in an advertising showdown.
No wonder the NRA says,
If we win, we'll have a president where we work out of their office.
I wake up every day thinking about this.
The president, who's backing Sunday's march, met a cross-section of American mothers on live television today and soon became one side's target.
You said, let's forget the crimes. And let's... No, sir. Excuse me.
This is the way the NRA operates.
No, sir, it's not.
With just 2 days to go before the rally and march, President Clinton has announced grants totaling £400,000 to gun makers to help speed up the development of smart guns, which can be fired only by the owners or other authorized people. The Dunblane mothers will relate their tragic stories to hundreds of thousands of other marchers on Sunday, including Hillary Clinton. Terry Lloyd, ITN, Washington.
Police officers said today there should be tough penalties for anyone caught with a drug known as GHB, or liquid ecstasy. It's been popular with dance clubbers since the early 90s. Possessing it isn't illegal, yet like ecstasy, it can kill. Chris Choi looks at the findings of a report into its dangers.
Police call it the new ecstasy, but this drug trend is called GBH by clubbers. Tonight, after a 2-year investigation, police called for tighter controls on the colourless liquid already banned in the USA.
When you mix it with alcohol, you actually end up with a more potent mixture than the sum of the two halves. One reacts with another, so that's a variable that's particularly dangerous with this drug.
Illegal production is increasing. Mixed with alcohol or other drugs, it can induce coma. Health workers today announced a summer campaign of warnings.
Irrespective of whether it is banned or not, there's certainly a big need for people to be informed about the effects and the risks that they're running.
On the internet, GBH is a carefully marketed consumer product. Such production and sale is already illegal, but almost impossible to stop.
I think we should now start to act, classify it as a drug, bring the full weight of drug legislation to bear on it, and effectively see it off the streets.
Officers with the National Criminal Intelligence Service today said they fear illicit production is being accelerated. The drug is sold under names derived from GBH, and profits can be high.
It would appear that it's being manufactured even more now, and organised crime are becoming involved in it, and that is the biggest fear, for this to fall into the hands of organised gangs.
Legally, it's only available on prescription, but tonight campaigners are warning that the drug's street name of GBH could be the best description of its effect on increasing numbers of illegal users. Chris Choi, ITN, Central London.
Sally Slater, the 6-year-old girl who had a heart transplant 6 weeks ago, went home today. She and her parents returned to North Yorkshire from her hospital flat in Newcastle with a new heart working well after the life-saving operation. Sally will still need psychotherapy or physiotherapy. The doctors say they're pleased with her progress. Strong winds are whipping up the huge fires threatening to obliterate the American city of Los Alamos. Hundreds of homes have already been destroyed by the fire, which was started by the local park service trying to clear brushwood. Firefighters are struggling to save what's left of the city. Ben McCarthy has the latest.
It's now destroyed more than 18,000 acres of New Mexico and hundreds of homes, and it's still burning. Incredibly, this fire was started deliberately 8 days ago by the National Park Service to clear undergrowth, but they made a massive mistake. The winds fanned the flames, and soon the blaze was out of control. The Park Service director has been suspended pending an inquiry, and the department is taking full responsibility.
We are responsible for what has occurred. We don't know why it occurred. We expect a thorough investigation to indicate that. And the buck stops with us. And I truly, my heart hurts for everyone tonight that has suffered a significant loss. And I wish we could turn back the clock, but we can't.
At the Los Alamos nuclear laboratory, the flames came within a few meters of the area where plutonium is stored. But the government insists there's no threat, as the nuclear material is kept in bunkers designed to withstand the impact of a jumbo jet crash. A slight improvement in weather conditions, cooler temperatures and increased humidity now means the fire crews stand a better chance of winning their battle with the flames. But tonight it remains a difficult and dangerous fight. Ben McCarthy, ITN.
With a month to go before Euro 2000, a row has broken out over the England team practicing penalties. Remember what happened in Euro 96 and the World Cups of 90 and 98? Well, today the England coach Kevin Keegan was quoted as saying that his team hasn't been practicing penalties. But he now says he was misquoted and that they are. Peter Staunton reports.
2 months before the start of Euro 2000, the great penalty debate is back with a vengeance. Should Kevin Keegan force his players to take repeated spot kicks on the training ground? So when it comes to the real thing, they'll be less likely to lose their nerve. Keegan's view is that they should practice, although the real test of a penalty taker is holding his nerve when the pressure is really on. And plenty of England's finest have failed that test over the past 10 years. This morning, though, Keegan was astonished when he read a back-page headline above a story which claimed he wouldn't bother with penalty practice. Not true, thundered the Football Association this afternoon in language which reopened the war of words between the national coach and the tabloid press.
Could it be that tension is rising? Yes, it is. But what is unfair and unreasonable, particularly unfair to our players and our chances of success in Euro 2000, is that complete nonsense like this is written that, yes, can hold people up to ridicule.
Alan Shearer is one of the few who can be relied on. The rest will be practicing hard before they cross the Channel in June.
What he did say, he said, was that at the end of the day you can't exactly recreate the penalty atmosphere that exists at the end of the game.
Even Keegan isn't immune from the occasional verbal miss.
You're back in the score quickly, yes or no?
Yes. Peter Staunton, ITN Sport.
The nerves of Bradford and Wimbledon supporters will be frayed this weekend as their teams play for Premiership survival. Wimbledon trained this morning knowing that a win at Southampton on Sunday will keep them in the top division, but if they lose, then Bradford, who take on Liverpool, have a real chance of survival. And finally, the celebrity count has been rising at the film festival in Cannes, easing the organisers' embarrassment that many stars were giving it a miss this year. It might seem like great fun in the sun, but as ITN's Tim Wilcox reports, being there can actually be hard work.
Cannes woke up to brilliant sunshine this morning, and for most of the world's film industry here, there was little time for a lie-in. A key requirement is stamina. Actors and actresses like Renée Zellweger, due to star in the film version of Bridget Jones' Diary, faced with late nights and early starts. The first day's screening begins at 8:30 in the morning. The last one is midnight, such as last night's European premiere of Under Suspicion, starring Gene Hackman, Monica Bellucci and Morgan Freeman.
Mr. Riccardi states firmly that you did not run the dog yesterday. He admits that on most days you do, but not yesterday.
He just doesn't remember right.
Another big-budget Hollywood film showing at Cannes this morning was Mission to Mars.
There's been talk in some quarters this year that Cannes is not as relevant or glamorous as it used to be, but organisers say that with names such as George Clooney, Gene Hackman and Holly Hunter in town, the star count for this year is as high as it ever was.
It's still also one of the best places to do business.
Cannes is about money. Nearly every single person on this terrace is in a position to give a British producer finance for their film. They may not, but they're in a position to.
For the remaining 9 days, Cannes will continue to host stunts, stars and street acts. Riches and film as closely linked as ever. Tim Wilcox, ITN, Cannes.
And just before we go, a quick reminder of the main headlines tonight. 3 British peacekeepers in Sierra Leone say they were threatened with death before they fled their jungle outpost. And Susie Lamplugh, and her investigation is to be reopened 14 years after the estate agent disappeared. That's it so far tonight. Next from ITN is the ITV Nightly News at 11 o'clock, and ITN has news throughout the weekend here on ITV. We're back on Monday. We leave you now with some of the main images of the day. From all of us here, good night and have a great weekend.
If you've ever gone 6 days without any sleep at all, you start to do some strange things.
We have the opportunity, we believe, of finding out what happened, who did it.
Good evening. The weather has been fiddly to forecast all week, and it doesn't look any easier for the weekend, but most of us will find it fairly mild, and all of us will get some dry and bright weather at times. There's today's satellite picture. I don't think I've ever seen the British Isles sliced quite so neatly in two. The south and west, you see a lot of cloud with showery outbreaks of rain. The north and east, glorious sunshine today. That's because you've had high pressure close by, just on your doorstep to the east. The rest of us have got this weather front creeping in very slowly, very, very slowly indeed. In fact, just by Sunday, we think it'll be on the scene for western parts of Britain. Until then, most of us will keep the basically dry weather we've had over the last couple of days with a scattering of sharp showers. So tonight then, there are showery outbreaks of rain around now in the south and east, and they're drifting slowly northwest as we go through the evening and night. Maybe get the odd shower up towards Northern Ireland and southwest Scotland late in the night, but they're fairly light and scattered, one or two mist patches forming as the winds become light tonight. And then tomorrow, a grey start for many of us, bits of mist and fog around. Still one or two light showers up in the north and west there. As we go through the day and the sun breaks through, we'll see some more showers developing, and there could be one or two heavy ones mixed in through the afternoon, but many other places getting some sunshine as well. And late in the day, that next weather front just appearing on the scene. That'll be more important when we look at Sunday's weather. Temperatures for tomorrow warming up fairly nicely because the winds will be light. 20 or 21 just makes it into the 70s. And then Sunday, that weather front will come into the west during Sunday morning, so a band of rain crossing western parts of Britain during the day, but central and eastern parts basically dry, quite warm too. Here's the summary.
Power Gen. Power, whatever the weather.
These are some of the country's most famous names. And the nightmare is about to come true.
Who are you?
It's Cheggers. This is The Way They Were.
We've uncovered long-forgotten footage of the stars of today as they prefer to be forgotten.
You'll see some early Hurley, a not-so-premium Bond, and there's Frank, and there's Pat. So where's Ricky? Ah, there he is. Steve Penk looks back at The Way They Were tonight at 9.
And he finds an occasion for persuasion in Emmerdale next.